Hey, I'm Adam W. Adam Wahid's my government name, though. Everyone calls me Adam W.
Amazing. It's so nice to meet you, Adam. So you grew up in New York City and you were originally a football player at SMU.
Yeah.
How did you get into TikTok?
It was a pretty crazy transition from football to TikTok. I wanted to be in the NFL. I used to be way bigger. I lost like all my muscle now. So yeah, after I decided I wasn't gonna make it to the NFL, I wanted to be a comedian. I wanted to be an actor. So I moved to LA and nobody gave me a chance at all. Couldn't get like audition, agent, nothing. So I started making Instagram videos, TikTok videos, and they took off.
Well, yeah, you've certainly had a change of fortune because you now have 16.5 million followers on TikTok. And you make some really hilarious content. Things like you working out on top of a toilet.
Yes, yeah. I actually bought that toilet and had to return it from Home Depot.
Oh, okay. Well, I hope that wasn't too hard for you.
It actually was very difficult. Those are heavy. Those toilets are very heavy.
Yeah, I've never lifted a toilet.
Yeah, you should try it. It's not easy.
But what inspires you? Like, how do you get your ideas for doing this kind of stuff?
So I watch people. I like to go around and just watch people. And if you watch somebody for long enough, they'll do something weird or something interesting. And just picking up off people's tendencies. A lot of times if I'm hanging out with friends, somebody will say something funny, I'll write it in my notes. So I have a list of all these notes of one-liners. So my ideas kind of just come from living life.
Wow, okay, living life. A lot of people live life, but not a lot of people are making over $7 million a year.
Yeah.
That is what Forbes is estimating that you took in 2021. For someone who's making really funny stuff, that is serious money. How did you grow sketch comedy into a serious business?
Well, at first I was just making it because I thought it was funny, and the whole point of it was, okay, maybe somebody will recognize me and put me in a movie or show. And as I started to create more, I saw the amount of money I could make off doing it, which is far more than, necessarily acting in something. So, as I continued to make more videos, I figured out ways to monetize it more. And there's so many different outlets and ways to monetize that content. And once you start doing it at its peak, the money is a lot.
Right, totally. What are your business goals?
Be a billionaire.
Okay,
for sure.
That's a big one.
I mean, that's the main goal, to be a billionaire, of course. But, at the same time, the money I'm making right now is great, but I'm thinking in 2-3 years from now, how do I 10x that?
Yeah, and a lot of the money you're making right now comes from your sponsorships with companies like Dr. Pepper, Old Spice, the NFL, Doritos. What makes you decide to do a partnership?
I mean, there's a few boxes to check. I think one, it being organic to my brand. I don't want to just post anything about anything, right? I mean, of course, I'm getting tons of offers to do things and kind of pick and choose what would fit my page best. And at the same time, I mean, for them, it should be organic to their brand as well. So, I mean, I kind of look at it, see if I actually use the product. I'm not going to do women's underwear. But, if it's something that I've used before or, a product that's a relatable product, then I'll do it.
Right. So speaking of women's underwear, it seems like your audience is very much a straight male audience. And we're also deducing that from this video.
Where did you guys find that? I thought that video got burned and deleted. That was on Musical.ly. That was before it was even TikTok.
Yeah.
Wow. That's I don't know how you guys found that.
We went through some archival footage. We did our homework.
Thanks for reminding me to go back and delete that. I thought that was deleted.
Can you talk about catering to this audience on TikTok?
Yes. So, I mean, the thing about comedy is when I first started doing TikToks, it was more so seeing what worked, right? I knew I wanted to do comedy, but there's so many different types of comedy. And it was really the sketch comedy, the scripted stuff, that had a beginning, middle, end that people really resonated with, and there was so much engagement on those. So for my audience on TikTok, I think what they love most is me taking an everyday situation, something super relatable, and then taking it to the extreme lengths of the unimaginable.
So speaking of extreme lengths, some of your content featuring women is slightly questionable. Have you gotten any pushback?
Not really. I mean, I think I'm pretty mindful of everything that I do to not necessarily offend anybody, but at the same time, this is comedy, right? I do have to push the boundary a little bit, but super mindful of like not being offensive to anybody and, being brand friendly and just being clean overall, which has actually like only made me more creative, believe it or not, because it's pretty easy to lean on like doing jokes about certain things or even using profanity or whatnot. But when you have to be brand friendly, you put yourself in this box, right? And it forces you to say, okay, I can't make a joke about that. I can't make a joke about this. So it only leaves me nothing but to become more creative. So it's really helped me as a comedian and as a writer overall.
Yeah, your most viral video, which garnered some 164 million views, is this video of you pranking your girlfriend. And we can't show the whole thing because it's not totally Forbes appropriate.
Are you ready? That was a wild one. That was a wild one.
I mean, 164 million views is so many. Why do you think that video did so well?
You know what? I think I have a pretty good gauge of like what's gonna perform well and what doesn't, but every once in a while, I get shocked myself. I'm like, me personally, I'm shocked that video performed so well, but I think it was just so viral and like the action that was happening was so visual and nobody really had to listen to it with sound to get it. And I think that's why it went like viral so globally.
Yeah. And there's so many creators on TikTok who are making really, really funny content, but not everyone has 16.5 million followers. Why and how have you risen to the top?
I think consistency. I mean, I shoot, edit, and post every single day. So I have not taken my foot off the gas. Alongside with, I'm a quality over quantity guy, but when you can master the quality and quantity and get that nice balance, I think, your growth will be unstoppable. And that's shown on my TikTok. Like I post every single day, but I also care so much about the quality. And even to my standards, sometimes I'm like, oh, this video sucks. But people are like, oh, this is amazing. So I'm very mindful of the quality and I'm very mindful of being consistent.
Yeah, your content is very highly produced, and that's not the total TikTok aesthetic. Can you talk about that choice?
Oh yeah, well first off, I used to do everything by myself. I was like, had a cell phone. I would go like find somebody walking by, like, hey, can you film this for me real quick? I would go like buy stuff from like stores, and then I didn't have the money to keep it, so I'd go back and return those things. That's why I'm actually banned from Home Depot. I like rented from there for like 2 years and never kept anything because I kept returning stuff. So I used to do everything by myself. I used to produce, edit, shoot, cast my talent, find the talent for my videos. And then, down the line, now I'm able to produce more content. So to make my life easier, I have about 8 people who work for me who will like from A to Z produce my entire content. But of course, I still have to come up with the creative and act and everything. But yeah, I mean, I think people appreciate it. I've just noticed that people appreciate when you take that extra step, Like if I'm shooting something and like I need a wine glass and I have a regular glass, I won't shoot it if I don't get that wine glass. And people appreciate those little things.
It sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah.
And, you can put in so many hours of work and look for the perfect wine glass, but fame on TikTok is fleeting and it's very much up to the algorithms and the ever-changing taste of consumers. How or do you plan to stay at the top?
I think a reason why my trajectory has only gone up and why I continue to grow every year, I've only grown more monetary and viewership, followers, etc., is because I'm content first. So the way I look at it is, if you didn't know who I was, if you have no clue who Adam W was, and you saw this video, can you relate? Can you relate to this video? Is this a funny video? Is this a good piece of content? Is it shareable? And the answer is yes, right? And that always has to be the answer for me to create that piece of content. So I'm always mindful of, yes, there are people who love me personally and they're super fans, right? But it doesn't take much for you to invest in my content. If you watch it in the first 5 seconds, I can get you hooked. And you don't have to necessarily know me for me to get you hooked. So that's kind of my secret, my trick.
Speaking of getting hooked on your content and investing in your content, you recently launched a channel, Wahaha, on Mark Cuban's platform Fireside. Can you give us like the elevator pitch of that?
Yeah, for sure. So I actually met Mark from a shoot that we did. Amazing guy. And then later on, we regrouped and figured out what we could do. And I think for what I want to do is a network. I want to have a new age network where, you know, not only am I going to be on it, but I can also curate the talent, curate the concepts, write some of it, maybe not write some of it. And kind of have this new age comedy network that I feel is, you know, a big gap right now. There isn't one, you know, aside from Comedy Central. You know, and in my opinion, I think that this network could be, you know, and it does like use like Web3 technology, and I don't want to like butcher the explanation completely. It gets pretty intricate, but it is a platform that is based off Web3 technology, and, you know, using my audience and leveraging that audience to come on this network and basically reach more people than I could on socials.
Right, and part of it is that people would pay to see your content, correct?
Yeah.
Why do you think that people would pay for your content when they can go on TikTok and see it for free?
Good question. The reason why is because this content is gonna, if you think the content I'm making on TikTok is good, this is gonna be like up here. It's gonna be next level. I mean, it's gonna be, you know, a very highly produced, like well scripted series and possibly shorter films. And it's much longer than, you know, I mean, on TikTok, you're getting 59 seconds. And some platforms, you know, I might give you like a minute, 20 seconds, but these will be, you know, in the 28-minute, you know, 40-minute range.
You mentioned Web3 technology. What is the future of creator monetization?
I don't know, but I know that that is the right direction. I know Web3 is where it's going. And, you know, it's one of those things where I'm in a position right now where I can take advantage of that and get ahead of the curve. So it's something I'm gonna double down on. And if it doesn't work, you know, I'll keep making TikToks. But I think, you know, at the point I'm at right now, it's time to make a move to really scale my business up and really scale, you know, my brand as a whole.
And you're not just scaling your brand. You also funded a school in Bali.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about turning your social influence into socially good influence?
Yeah, I mean, that's like one of the biggest things I preach on my page. I'm actually opening up a second school coming up in Bali again this October.
Wow.
Yeah, my goal is to build 1,000 across the world. I mean, right now it's only 2 and we're moving kind of slow, but trying to figure out how to build, you know, 20, 30 at a time rather than 1 at a time. And, you know, when we hit the 1,000 benchmark, that's just a benchmark. We'll keep going. But I think the base goal is to do 1,000 across the world. And the goal of those schools are to end poverty through education. So, you know, giving kids the ability, the basic fundamentals that, you know, we take for granted here that they don't have. So giving them that opportunity to then therefore have them seek higher education, get a job somewhere, you know, in a lot of these countries, just the ability of being able to speak English gives you an exponential opportunity to go do anything you want, right? So just teaching kids that.
I'm curious to know, in your schools, is the curriculum going to be catered toward more content creation types of things, or is it going to be more traditional?
Well, like the first couple of years, they just watch my TikToks. I think creativity is definitely something that will be pushed in those schools. But of course, at the same time, I think just giving them the building blocks of like just learning the basics first. But, you know, if they can know my story, and they don't all know me, but if they can know my story and kind of see like how I came up and, you know, didn't necessarily wait for an opportunity, made one, and, you know, really being able to express your creativity, like you don't have to be by the book and go to school and do this or that. You can, and it's definitely a choice, but I think they should also know that the other side of being creative and, you know, kind of paving your own way is also a choice. So really preaching that.
So creator monetization, I want to return to this topic. The creator economy right now is so dependent on these large platforms where algorithms can change all the time, and there's all these questions about surveillance and what are their motives. We don't totally know. Can you talk a little bit about that and your relationship to the platforms?
Yeah, I have a pretty good relationship with every platform, you know, and of course, always trying to stay in line with what they're doing. I mean, at a certain point, yeah, you have to play the game, right? Like you have to, you know, you want to step outside of the boundaries here and there, but ultimately knowing the goal of what the platform is trying to do and being in line with that only gives you the best opportunity to rapidly grow. And that's what I've done on every platform.
The platform has a tendency, and the platform being TikTok, the platform has a tendency to favor white creators, and that seems to be the preference, inherently of TikTok users as well. As a non-white creator, how does that affect your work?
I mean, it is definitely something to think about. But when I create, I'm super mindful to make sure I just put every race, and I have a very diverse cast of people I work with, which I don't know if that would help me algorithmically or not, but yeah, I mean, I'm super mindful of that. And one thing I believe in, there's definitely more speed bumps, or maybe, I might have started further behind than the next person, but ultimately, I truly believe that great content always rises to the top, no matter what. You could say, oh, you could do this and post at a certain time and your stuff might perform better, or if you look like this, your stuff might perform better. But ultimately, if you make a great piece of content, it will always rise to the top.
That's great to hear that that content always wins. I think we can see that in your professional trajectory. And you've only been a professional TikToker for about, 2 years?
I'm probably like 3 years. I've been making content for about like 6 years, but of course Musical.ly went to TikTok.
Right.
But I was on Musical.ly, as you guys saw in that video. Thought those were deleted. But yeah, I was on TikTok from the jump, right when it started. So I guess I'm a veteran TikToker.
Yeah, it's a pretty new platform in general,
Yeah.
But still, in that time, we can see you've grown up a lot. How do you continue to attract new fans while retaining your existing base and honoring your personal growth?
Yeah, content first. Like I'm never gonna get, too cocky or think in my head like, hey, people love me now, I could just post anything I want. It's a very high standard of what I'm gonna post. And that's the reason I'm able to get such new growth, because, the people who love me and know me, they appreciate that content. That content just gets better. It's still fresh, new ideas. But ultimately, I'm treating every piece of content like it's the greatest piece of content. I want to level up. Every time I post something, I want it to be better than the last.
It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I don't sleep at night.
Neither do I. What's your relationship like with your fans?
It's good. I'm just one man, so it's tough. I get like thousands and thousands of DMs. So I do one thing every month. I will set aside like an hour of time and I will respond to as many people as I can. Mind you, there's it's not just all fans. There's people like, hey, $5,000 cash reward. Like I have to go through all of this, right? So there's a lot of spam too, but there's a lot of fans. So I try to dedicate 1 hour a month to just talk to as many fans as I can. And all the responses are like, no way, this is you. And then I'm like, it is me. And then I have to send a selfie. So it's it takes a while, but that's one of the ways I do it. And then, there's different ways I can also do polls and questions, and it's cool to interact with my audience a little bit deeper, but ultimately, it's tough. It's tough. I'm just one guy.
Yeah, that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
That's bigger than most American cities.
Yeah.
As we head into a recession, how do you think that will affect your business and the business of influence in general? I'd love to get your thoughts here.
Yeah, it's definitely a thought I had. I think it's a thought everybody had in any business you're in. But ultimately, I don't think content's ever going anywhere. And I'm in the business of content. I'm in the business of creating content. And, I haven't seen any hiccups. If anything, things have only got better. But ultimately, people are always going to want to watch content. It's always going to be a thing. And, people are on their phones all day. I think the trajectory of where social media is going, it's only getting stronger. So I think I'm in a good place to be.
On the final question here, I just want to ask you, there are so many kids out there and adults who want to be influencers, and they look at you and they think, Adam W., I want to be you. How, and what advice would you give to those people?
Give up. No, I'm just kidding. Do it. I think when I started, I was so worried about what my friends and family would think, and my 20 followers who were just my cousins. Mm-hmm. And I was so in my head of this is not funny, or what if I fail, or what if people think, I'm wasting my time. And a lot of people did, and I wish I would have just started. I wish I would have just done it, because when I said, F it, I'm just gonna do it and start it, that's when everything happened for me. So don't wait. I think a lot of times we sit there and say, oh, we need I need the perfect time to start making videos, or I need the right camera, or I need to learn this. Just start, just figure it out. That's what I did. I just jumped in the fire and I figured it out along the way. And it was a bumpy road, but ultimately all the stuff that I failed at that didn't work helped me succeed.
Okay, so don't wait. Jump in the fire, get banned from Home Depot.
Yes, and if you're watching this right now, stop watching this. Go start. If you're still watching this, you haven't done it yet.